Friends, it is Tuesday, May 19th, and here we go. Violet took the lockpick out and thought very, very hard, retying her hair in the ribbon. And as she cleared the hair from her eyes, though she felt a sudden prickle on her skin, it was unpleasant and unfamiliar. It was the feeling of being watched. She looked quickly behind her, but saw only the snake-shaped hedges on the lawn. She looked to the side and saw only the driveway leading down to Lousy Lane. But then she looked straight ahead through the glass walls of the reptile room. It had never occurred to her that people could see in through the reptile room's walls as clearly as they could see out, but when she looked up, Violet could see, through the cages of reptiles, the figure of Mr. Poe leaping up and down excitedly. Now, you and I know, of course, that Mr. Poe was panicking over Sonny and the incredibly deadly viper, but all Violet knew was that whatever ruse her siblings had devised was still working. The prickle on her skin was not explained, however, until she looked a little closer, just to the right of Mr. Poe, and saw that Stefano was looking right back at her. Her mouth fell open in surprise and panic. She knew that at any second now Stefano would invent an excuse to leave the reptile room and come find her, and she hadn't even opened the suitcase. Quickly. She had to find some way to make her lockpick work. She looked down at the damp gravel of the driveway and up at the dim, yellowish afternoon sun. She looked at her own hands, smudged with dust from picking apart the electric plug. And that's when she thought of something. Jumping to her feet, Violet sprinted back into the house as if Stefano were already after her and pushed her way through the door into the kitchen. Shoving a chair to the floor in her haste, she grabbed a bar of soap from the dripping sink. She rubbed the slippery substance over the lockpick until the entire invention had a thin, slick coating, her heart pounding in her chest. She ran back outside, taking a hurried look through the walls of the reptile room. Stefano was saying something to Mr. Poe. He was bragging about his expertise of snakes, but Violet had no way of knowing that. And Violet took this moment to kneel down and stick the lockpick back into the keyhole of the padlock. It spun quickly all the way around and then snapped in two, right in her hands. There was a faint sputter of sound as one half fell to the grass. The other one was sticking in the keyhole like a jagged tooth. Her lockpick was destroyed. Violet closed her eyes for a moment in despair and then pulled herself to her feet, using the suitcase to gain her balance. When she put her hand on the suitcase, however, the padlock swung open and the case tipped over and spilled everything all over the ground. Violet fell back down in surprise. Somehow, as the lockpick turned, it must have unstuck the lock. Sometimes, even in the most unfortunate of lives, there will occur a moment or two of good fortune. It is very difficult, experts have told us, to find a needle in a haystack, which is why the, quote, needle in a haystack, unquote, has become a rather hackneyed phrase meaning something that is difficult to find. The reason it is difficult to find a needle in a haystack, of course, is that of all the things in a haystack, the needle is only one of them. If, however, you were looking for anything in a haystack, that wouldn't be too difficult at all because, well, once you started sifting through the haystack, you would certainly find something, hay, of course, but also dirt, bugs, a few farming tools, and maybe even a man who had escaped from prison and was hiding in there. When Violet searched through the contents of Stefano's suitcase, it was more like looking for anything in a haystack because she didn't know exactly what she wanted to find. Therefore, it was actually fairly easy to find useful items of evidence. A glass vial with a sealed rubber cap, as one might find in a scientific laboratory. A syringe with a sharp needle, like the one that your doctor uses to give you shots. A small bunch of folded papers. A card laminated in plastic. A powder puff, and a small hand mirror. And even though she knew she had only a few more moments, Violet separated these items from the smelly clothes and the bottle of wine that were also in the suitcase, and looked at all her evidence very carefully, concentrating on each item as if they were small parts of which she was going to make a machine. And in a way they were. Violet Baudelaire needed to arrange these pieces of evidence to defeat Stefano's evil plan and bring justice and peace into the lives of the Baudelaire orphans for the first time since their parents perished in that terrible fire. Violet gazed at each piece of evidence, thinking very hard, and before too long her face lit up the way it always did when all the pieces of something were fit together properly and the machine worked just the way it should. All right, that'll lead us into chapter 12. Hey, we'll finish this before the end of the year. So we have an assignment today, which is Tuesday. You'll have another reading and assignment on Thursday, and then next week you'll have an assignment and a reading on a Tuesday, and then assignment, a reading on a Thursday, and then that's it. That last week before grades come out, you have the whole week to Zoom with me and get your grade up to where you want your grade. We can do your homework together. So just remember, we are Zooming from 2 o'clock to 2:45. The invitation is on Google Stream, and if that time doesn't work for you, let me know through Google Stream or email what time you would like to Zoom with me. I would love to sit down with you and do homework. Sound good? Today's homework, you're going to find out, is going to be level 3, which is you are making chords. You have to look at chords. You have to determine, are they minor chords or major chords? We'll talk about major chords jump 4-3 and minor chords jump 3-4. We'll explain that. And we're going to add a lot more flats and sharps to try to mess you up. So look on the next little video, and that's our homework helper. All right. I miss you, and we'll smell you later.